There's so many people that are like, she was a fraud, she was a liar, she was manipulating, and I know the look. I know the look.
No.
I know that you're like right there.
I'm cautious because I don't think it was like intentional manipulation.
I don't really either.
I do think that Kody decided that he had this new person that was like this new insider with him.
The new shiny toy.
Yeah.
Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving deep into the complicated dynamic, or lack thereof, between Meri Brown and Robyn Brown. Their strained relationship is set to be explored in greater detail in this Sunday's upcoming episode of Sister Wives. Now, keep in mind, this footage is from over a year ago, so the version of Meri we'll see is in a much different place than she is today. At that time, she was still closer to the family and not as emotionally distant as she is now. The conversation we're going to talk about happens between Meri and her friend Jen, and it sheds light on a lot. Once Meri officially left Kody, she was finally able to break free from the fog of living under a narcissist's influence. That freedom gave her the clarity to reflect on her relationships, not just with Kody, but with everyone in the family, especially Robyn. For over 15 years, viewers have been fed a very specific narrative on Sister Wives. But now, as more women in the family speak up, we're seeing how different their personal experiences really were. We're uncovering inconsistencies in how the women and even their children were treated, emotionally, financially, and otherwise. One of the biggest things that gets overlooked in polygamous families is the legal status of the wives. The legal wife almost always benefits more financially than the others because she's the one recognized by law. That means her home is considered the official residence, and she has certain rights the others don't. When Meri was Kody's legal wife, she carried a unique set of responsibilities and burdens. Legally, Kody was cheating on her by having relationships and children with other women. And back when they lived in Utah, what they were doing could have landed them in legal trouble. Meri, as the legal wife, could have been prosecuted simply for staying in the relationship and allowing it to continue. That's a massive emotional and legal weight to place on a woman, especially when it's the man making those choices. For years, viewers have struggled to separate the truth from the carefully crafted reality presented on the show. Many of us could sense the tension between Meri and Robyn, even if it wasn't openly discussed. And while the show painted Robyn in a certain light, it became more and more obvious to viewers that she was often pulling strings behind the scenes. Robyn wasn't just another wife. She often acted as Kody's mouthpiece. She'd answer for him in interviews, redirect tough questions, and guide the narrative the other wives were expected to follow. It became increasingly clear that Kody and Robyn were the ones shaping the story, while everyone else had to play along. That manipulation has left many fans questioning what was real and what was scripted. And when you factor in the cult-like atmosphere they were living in, where lying for the sake of protecting the group was encouraged, it becomes even harder to separate fact from fiction. Nowhere is this clearer than in how the show portrayed Robyn's entry into the family. We were told that Meri helped choose Robyn and encouraged Kody to marry her. But that's simply not true. This season, Kody and Robyn themselves admitted they met before Meri was even involved. Kody was already interested in Robyn and used Meri to make it happen, not the other way around. Meri only learned the truth recently, after years of being told a different story. She believed that they met through her, because that's what they said. The same thing happened with the storyline about the divorce. It was presented as Meri's idea, but in reality, it wasn't. She was pressured into it. The show often twisted or completely fabricated storylines for entertainment value. Meanwhile, real emotional damage was being done behind the scenes. And while the cast is still under contract, which limits what they can publicly say, we're starting to see glimpses of the truth come through. Just recently, in her interview with Tamron Hall, Meri admitted that her greatest source of tension in the family wasn't Christine or Janelle, it was Robyn. She revealed that before she could say anything publicly, especially during tell-alls, she felt she had to check with Robyn and Kody. They were the ones managing the narrative. She also confirmed she never wanted the divorce. It was something they pushed on her so Robyn could become Kody's legal wife. That gave Robyn more power and control over the family, something she clearly wanted. What many people don't know is that Meri was already on the verge of leaving Kody before the show even started. And Janelle had already left him once, too. So this picture-perfect idea of a united family all living together under one roof, it wasn't real. In fact, Janelle had lived separately for 5 years. Now, Meri is finally stepping out of that fog of emotional manipulation and beginning to see things for what they really were. And let me just say, when you've been under the influence of a narcissist, it's incredibly difficult to see the reality for what it is. Add to that the brainwashing and control from the cult-like environment, and you've got someone who's been taught for years to suppress her emotions, stay silent, and obey authority no matter the cost. When Kody and Robyn became a team, it was very much them against everyone else. Robyn craved control, and Kody gave it to her. Even Meri's friend Jen picked up on that dynamic, saying, "He found this new person, his shiny new object, and suddenly it was like them against the world." Robyn would act like your best friend one minute, then completely ignore you the next, and hurt your feelings. Either be genuine or don't bother at all. It's not just Jen saying this, either. A lot of former polygamous wives use that same phrase, the shiny new toy. When a man brings in a new wife, she becomes the center of his attention. The others are discarded, like toys tossed aside by a child who only wants to play with the newest thing. Women in these relationships are often dehumanized and treated like objects. And in Kody's case, all his focus eventually went to Robyn. What I'm most curious about now is whether we'll eventually get the full truth about what Kody was really like when the cameras weren't rolling. None of the wives have ever really opened up about how Kody would constantly praise Robyn's figure, how thin she was, how young she looked, how beautiful she was. He'd call her a supermodel right in front of the other wives. And he never stopped doing that. Sure, they joked about it during the first season, calling her the young or trophy wife, but that mindset didn't fade. That was always how he treated her. He put her on a pedestal and made the other women feel like they didn't measure up, like they weren't as desirable or valuable because they didn't look like Robyn. And here's Jen, pointing out what's become so obvious. Robyn was always the one he wanted to be with. Once they became a couple, it was like a full-on alliance, just the two of them, wrapped up in each other. Robyn also distanced herself from Meri. If you've ever read Becoming Sister Wives, you'll remember how painfully honest Meri's chapters are. Almost to a fault. She shares how Robyn initially came in acting like her best friend. She love-bombed her, gave her the impression they'd be inseparable. But the second Robyn and Kody's courtship got serious, that friendship disappeared. Robyn no longer had time for Meri. Suddenly, it was all about her and Kody. Meri was left behind and felt completely used. And she said all this in the book back in 2012. I think the reason the full truth is only coming out now is because these women need time. They've spent so many years buried in lies, protecting an image, and I think there's a lot of shame tied to that. Shame in admitting they weren't being real, shame in feeling like frauds. That's why it was such a big moment when Meri recently acknowledged that other people call Robyn a fraud. She said, "A lot of people say Robyn's a fraud. I don't think that." But the fact that she even said the word fraud out loud tells you a lot. That word was on her mind. Have we ever heard one of the wives even say that before? Not until now. Even if she followed it with, "I don't see it that way," the thought was still there. It slipped out. And that shows us that Meri is really starting to question things. She's putting the pieces together. It's fascinating to compare how Robyn views her relationship with Meri versus how Meri sees it. Because Robyn is already doing what she always does, deflecting and blaming. Robyn claims, "I thought Meri and I had a great relationship. I was close to her. I had her back, even when others were plotting against her or ignoring her. I only noticed a change when she moved away. That's when things shifted." But let's be honest, it's going to take a full-blown emotional lobotomy for Robyn to admit she ever did anything wrong. The thing about conflict is that when you're in the middle of it, it's easy to feel like your emotions are justified. And sometimes, yes, both people carry blame. But other times, someone really did something wrong, someone hurt someone, and the right thing to do is apologize. And how many times have we ever seen Robyn do that? Honestly, I can't think of a single time she's taken accountability or said, "I'm sorry." Now flip it. How many times did we see the other women, especially Christine, apologize to Robyn? Christine was constantly bending over backward, trying to make peace, trying to fix things. And Robyn never let her forget she was being a bully. Christine herself has admitted that, yes, she used to say and do things that hurt Meri, like making comments about how many kids she had, or even saying once that she hoped Meri had a miscarriage. She owned that. She said she used to taunt Meri. She was open about how their relationship had deep issues. There was competition, jealousy, pain. Christine would get pregnant and, according to Meri, rub it in her face. Those wounds ran deep. And just because a new wife joined the family didn't magically make all that old hurt disappear. But at least, on the show, we saw Christine and others acknowledge their wrongs. We saw Meri especially trying to own her part, apologizing, taking responsibility, even for things that happened before the cameras ever showed up. The show gave space for Janelle and Christine to voice their grievances, but not as much for Meri to explain her side of the story. That's why we end up with a pretty one-sided version of events, a narrative shaped mostly by how others saw Meri, rather than how Meri experienced it. And let's be real, polygamous families often operate in a way where the man pits the women against each other. The husband will allow, even encourage, the wives to scapegoat one another. That's exactly what Kody did. He drilled into everyone, his wives and his kids, that Meri was the problem. He painted her as the villain, when in reality, he was the one controlling everything. The money, the moves, the decisions. That wasn't on Meri. She was just an easy target. And once she stopped obeying him and stopped playing the role he assigned her, everyone turned on her. You saw it happening in real time on the show. So when people talk about how awful Meri was, I always pause. Because a lot of that language sounds exactly like what Kody has been saying about her for years. And then you hear the kids say things like, "We didn't even think Meri was bad until Robyn joined the family and told us she was." Excuse me, what? So you didn't have a problem with Meri until Robyn showed up and started influencing your perception of her? That sounds like manipulation to me. That sounds like a textbook smear campaign. And that's exactly what narcissists do. They turn people against the one person who sees through them. So, yeah, we got to take a step back and consider all of that before jumping to conclusions about who's to blame. And honestly, Meri doesn't owe Robyn any kind of apology. Not one. Because Robyn changed the moment she became Kody's legal wife. After that, it was like Meri and the rest of the family ceased to exist. Robyn played the part until she got that marriage certificate in 2015. And once that was in her hands, game over. She got what she wanted. Janelle even saw it coming. She said at the time, "I think you're going to ride off into the sunset with Kody." And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I mean, come on, was it ever going to go any other way? Well, someone mentioned, wasn't that storyline taken from Big Love? And maybe it was similar, but in reality, they needed a reason to explain the divorce. The truth is, it had nothing to do with Big Love. That whole storyline wasn't inspired by the show. It was simply because Kody wanted to legally divorce Meri and make Robyn his official wife. Yesterday, a few of you asked, if legal marriages don't matter and spiritual unions are what really count, then why even bother with a legal marriage? And you hit the nail on the head. You totally get it. Legal marriages absolutely do matter. They define who the primary wife is in the family. The legal wife is the one sharing taxes with the husband. She's the one listed on the deed of the house, the joint bank accounts, everything. In most states, assets are split under community property laws, which means she becomes the central figure when dividing those assets. Now, I know Meri catches a lot of criticism, and some of it dates back years. But if we look at what Janelle has said more recently, she actually defended Meri. She said Meri was fair, especially when it came to dividing things. She believed Meri would always advocate for everyone. That dynamic only shifted once Robyn entered the picture. Janelle, because of how good Meri had been to her, didn't want Meri to get shortchanged when it came to Coyote Pass. Sure, there were money arguments early on, but once the show launched, things changed. They were under contract, each getting their own individual paychecks. Meri got her salary. Janelle, Christine, and even Robyn all got theirs. And to give Meri credit, she worked her butt off. She carried a huge part of the show. So many family members didn't want to be on camera, especially Robyn. She didn't want to participate, so Meri stepped up and handled it, often juggling 3 jobs at once. So when people say things like the kids weren't getting enough food, it's honestly ridiculous. Yeah, when they lived in Wyoming, the family was struggling. They were all poor back then, not just Janelle's kids. Meri wasn't living large either. They all suffered. Let me share a story I've told before. I know someone who was close to them. One day, she visited the trailer where the women were staying, and the only food in their cupboard was a few cans of refried beans. That was it. Nothing else. No one had food, not even Meri. This was during the time Janelle ended up leaving for 6 years. So yes, Meri made a lot of sacrifices. She also brought in a lot of money for the family and for the show. Robyn totally took advantage of that. So the fact that Meri is now even entertaining the idea that Robyn might be a fraud, that's huge. Sure, she followed it up by saying, "I don't believe it." But just the fact that she's thinking it means something. The wheels are definitely turning. And Robyn trying to claim she always had Meri's back. That's just not true. It's a lie she keeps telling herself to avoid being held accountable. Honestly, you can tell who the narcissist is in this situation. Meri, for all her flaws, does take accountability. She's apologized. She's tried to fix things. She's groveled to Kody and Robyn, trying to make peace, and it was never enough. Robyn? She's never once owned up to anything. And now she wants to blame Meri for leaving, as if that's what ruined everything. But let's be real. Meri was already saying long before she left that she never saw Robyn. She'd text her and get nothing back. So who's telling the truth here? Meri or Robyn? I believe Meri. And let's be honest, we probably won't get the full story anytime soon. They're still under contract. But thank goodness Meri has friends like Jen who can say what we're all thinking. So what do you think? Do you believe Meri will eventually say, "Yes, Robyn is a fraud," instead of just people think she is? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. The new season starts Sunday, and a ton of you are watching but haven't subscribed yet. It's totally free. Just hit that subscribe button, then tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And definitely leave all your comments below. I love reading what you all think. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.